But I don't think there's any dispute that Morocco are the best team in Africa right now. I think they're one of the best teams in the world. They got to the semi-final 4 years ago. I think they've improved since then. I just felt that they have everything, as I said, and they don't. I think, as well as the talent, they've also got belief. They've got clear confidence. They have players who are operating at a very high level for their clubs. And I think if you actually look at their international record now, I know they've changed manager and all that sort of stuff, they don't really lose games. So it wasn't a surprise to me at all that they got something from Brazil. I think they feel at home at this level, and
But there's no doubt that the next opponent up for Scotland is a whole different test altogether. Morocco, we've been looking at them. They are obviously coming off the back of a controversial AFCON win earlier in the year. They've got a new head coach in Wahbi after the previous one left. On the surface, Morocco have got a better ranking than Brazil. Mm-hmm. Are they a tougher opponent than Brazil for Scotland?
I think so, 100%. Ryan, you can have... You referenced that African Cup of Nations win and all the controversy around that, but I don't think there's any dispute that Morocco are the best team in Africa right now. I think they're one of the best teams in the world. They got to the semi-final 4 years ago. I think they've improved since then. They've lost a couple of players across the pitch, really, which has hindered them in a sense. But you look at the squad, you look at the age of them, the profile of them, the clubs they're playing at, I think they've got everything. They maybe lack that out-and-out striker that, as we've seen already at this World Cup, an Mbappe, a Haaland, and even Messi. Obviously, if he's a striker, whatever it is, he's just a genius.
He's just Messi, isn't he?
He's just a genius. But they maybe lack that, but they have so much pace, power, a good defence, they don't give much away, a brilliant midfield and attacking threats. I do feel it is a tougher game than Brazil. I know that's crazy to say, but they are a top team.
So we're going to dive into the Morocco team in a bit more depth, and indeed there's going to be a lot of discussion about how Scotland will line up, so we'll touch on that too. So Mohamed Abou, as we said, he's been in charge 5 friendlies, 3 wins against Paraguay, Burundi and Madagascar, then 2 draws in lead up against Ecuador and Norway, and then obviously another draw against Brazil. So just before we look at the kind of breakdown of the team, what did you make of Morocco in that opening game against Brazil? Certainly the first 25 minutes looked as though they were capable of anything.
Yeah, they did, and I thought they also finished quite well too. I just think they're a good team. I just think they don't look out of place against that level of opposition, and we can go on and we'll look in another video at Brazil later, but I just felt that they have everything, as I said, and they don't. I think, as well as the talent, they've also got belief. They've got clear confidence. They have players who are operating at a very high level for their clubs. And I think if you actually look at their international record now, I know they've changed manager and all that sort of stuff, they don't really lose games. So it wasn't a surprise to me at all that they got something from Brazil. I think they feel at home at this level, and you're looking at it, I believe they probably think they will go very, very deep into this tournament, and you can understand why, because I think they could be a match for anybody.
Yep, Morocco haven't lost a game since August 2025, 1-0 against Kenya. And then for the previous loss, you need to go back another 18 months. Yeah. It's a very, very, ominous record for Scotland. And the man that leads them, he leads from the back by example, but he's got license to go and play Hakimi.
It's interesting because you look at all the players they've got, but Hakimi's the leader, as you said, and he is the driving force. He plays from right back, but he plays like a right winger. He's part of a really, really sound defence, a really solid defence, but so much of their good work comes down that right flank from him. You've got obviously Brahim Diaz ahead of him, so you've got a PSG player and a Real Madrid player. That sums up the level that Morocco are at. But I think Hakimi he's clearly the best right back in the world. Don't think that's up for debate. And the engine he's got on him is unbelievable. And Scotland are going to have to be so switched on against him. Now, Andy Robertson, who will start, we'll go into what we think Scotland might do, but Andy Robertson will definitely start out on that left-hand side. He's played against him a million times, you would imagine, for Liverpool. But this is going to be a test, and it's going to be a really, really pivotal head-to-head, I think. But if you can stop Hakimi getting, into those areas, then you can stop part of Morocco's kind of arsenal of danger that they've got, but he is without doubt their talisman, their star, and the leader, as you say, and what a player he is.
Yep, and they've got other Premier League quality as well in the centre of defence.
Yeah, if you look at I think if you look at the back four, you have a PSG player, you've got Mazraoui, certainly the team that started against Brazil in the first game from Manchester United, and then you've got Diop and Radi from
Crystal Palace
and Fulham. So you've got a calibre of player there, and they don't give away much at all. As I said, they've lost a couple of key players if you look at back through the years, but you know, I think they showed against Brazil where they pretty much limited them to an extent. Obviously there was a bit of brilliance from Vinicius to get the goal, but I think they limited them to an extent, and Scotland are going to have to work very, very hard to get goals. As I said, Hakimi is clearly such a danger going forward, but he's also a very good defender, and I just think they are so well drilled and so well organised at the back, and they'll play the four. They don't give much away, so if we do get a chance, I'm sure chances will come, then we need to take them.
Moving into midfield, an abundance of quality, you know, names that we will remember like Amrabat, but Derek McGregor, who's been out for us following Scotland's rivals, he picked out Buadi, you know, this new star on the block, and you saw the performance he put in against Brazil. He really looks as though he's capable of anything.
I always think you can tell within a couple of seconds whether somebody can play football or not. Right, we played sevens last week, I could tell within 30 seconds that you were a player. What a player he is. He's only 18. He just moves so well. He's so comfortable on the ball. Everything about him, it was perpetual motion. He was so quick at everything he did. It was done with quality, and you start looking at him, watching the game, and he's only just declared for Morocco. He's only won a handful of caps. Obviously he could have played for France as well, but he excelled at Lille. He is going to get a huge move to any one of the biggest clubs in the world. They all want him, they would all take him just now. What a player he is. I mean, he will absolutely dictate, run the show in the middle of the park, only 18, and yeah, Derek's got a piece in the paper earlier this week, and he is a superstar. I'm not talking about Derek, I'm talking about Buadi, and yeah, it just adds to the quality they've got, but he is one to watch. I mean, already, generally watching the game, I just felt to myself, this boy is absolutely destined for the top, and I think it's France's loss in Morocco's game, but he's already been tipped to be the best young player at the tournament. You can see why.
Yep, he's almost like a secret weapon, as you say. He's barely played for Morocco, and because teams don't have a lot of video on him, it might help his case. We've not even got to Saibari yet. Rangers fans might remember the damage he did with PSV, and he showed his quality with that opening goal. Yeah,
he did, and he's another one who's about to get a massive move to Bayern Munich. Looks like £50-60 million. I think it's just a medical to go through. Yeah, a brilliant goal, and it's interesting because he played as a sort of kind of, if you want to call it a striker, but he's not really an out-and-out striker, and it was almost like the whole false nine thing, and you just need to be so careful with him. You know, you've got other players within that area who interchange, and I think that's the one thing about Morocco. Well, they've got a structure, and they have that solid defence, and they've got a base in the midfield, whether it's Buadi, Amrabat. His second name escapes me. He plays for Roma, but his first name's Neil, which is always makes me laugh for a Moroccan. But they have that structure there, but they also, the manager allows the players to go and express themselves, to move into pockets of space, to interchange, and that is what Scotland are going to have to be so careful about. It's not that they've got this amazing number 9 that, you know, this traditional striker. Saibari does play up there again. He'll drop in, they'll switch about, players will interchange all the time, and you need to be so alert and so agile to deal with all that, because they will go 1-on-1, but they'll also play little passes, little 1-2s and everything. So it's such a tricky game. To go back to your first point, I think it is a tougher game than Brazil.
Yep. It was Neil El Ainoui you were looking for. So
Neil, we'll just call him Neil.
Just Neil's fine for us. Now, we've not even got to the actual front line, if you like, or traditional front line, because obviously we spoke about Saibari, but there's a Real Madrid megastar in the making that we've not even touched on yet in Brahim Diaz.
Yeah, he's just a brilliant player. And
looking for redemption as well, because it was he that missed the penalty that would have lost the AFCON for Morocco, but the way things have transpired, obviously it didn't work out that way.
And all that. But yeah, he's just a good player. You've watched Real Madrid in the Champions League, you've watched La Liga. He's a standout, and again, when you've got guys of that calibre playing at that level, with the self-confidence they've got, with the ability they've got, with the demands, the expectation, all that sort of stuff, Hakimi and him down the right, and you're saying down the right, Diaz will venture about, but they are used to playing at the very, very top level with the expectation you have to win everything, whether it's your league, whether it's the Champions League. So these guys will take that into this World Cup. I mean, I think it's sometimes got overlooked that Morocco got to the semi-final last time out, so I would say they are better now, so there's nothing to stop them going to the semi-final or even the final this year. And Diaz is going to be a huge part of it. Brilliant player, so creative, intelligent, and again, it brings me into that whole left side of Scotland. Going to have to be so careful because they have top players in that area.
Yep, so Wahbi, who has stepped up, he was the under-23s manager for Morocco, worked with the likes of Hamza Igaman, and
he's a loss, but he is a loss for Morocco. Obviously got that bad knee injury because I think he did give them a different profile in the sort of number 9 area. Igaman again, I don't know, talk about kind of first impressions. I always remember when he came off for Rangers against Celtic, Celtic Park, straight away you're like, who's this guy? Because nobody knew anything about him, really. And
it was a modest fee as well at the time.
And he blossomed, and you could tell. I mean, Philippe Clement at the time had said, look, Rangers had to basically get him then because they wouldn't be able to afford him a summer on, and then obviously move him on for big money. But he's not there. I think that's a blow. And that's what I'm saying. I would look at Morocco and I would wonder, do they have that striker that will maybe score in this tournament? You know, it's an extended tournament. You're probably going to need a striker that might score you 6-7 goals. I think they don't have that, but the goals could be shared about because they've got so much talent within that kind of middle to front and defensive area.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Morocco, one of the allegations put to them is that they do struggle against teams that are compact and defensive. This might be music to Scotland fans and indeed Steve Clarke's ears. And also, what would you say about the fact that last time out 4 years ago, nobody was expecting Morocco to go to the last 4. Could that pressure actually impact them?
Yeah, I think that's always a thing to factor in, and we've spent days discussing the Scotland for Scotland game and the pressure that the players are under, and we all come out that game watching it thinking, oh, it'd been good to get 2 or 3 goals. But you need to play the game as it is, and the pressure Scotland were facing just to win one game was unbelievable. For Morocco, it's not just to get out the group, it's to get back to the semi-final again. And if you get to the semi-final, can you then go one step closer again? I would still say in the traditional World Cup, who are the big teams, they are still underdogs. But I don't think the rankings lie, and I don't think performances lie in the players they've got. You know, I genuinely think Morocco are a real danger in this tournament. I could see them going very far out.
So, looking at how Scotland will look to attack against Morocco, and we were kind of joking off screen that if Scotland play a few games like Greece at Euro 2004, for those that can remember, nobody woke up playing. But Derek McGregor, when he's been out and following the Morocco cap, he did mention that they're wary of Scotland from set pieces, so they are considering the fact that this is not an easy game, and there's no right for anybody to dish out a comfortable victory at this World Cup, as we've seen. Only Germany have really lost the Sweden game.
I don't think so. How does Scotland approach it, and how do you try and, I think, you just try to be hard to beat. I mean, Scotland have done the job of winning a game. So the game's won, so we now know that one more point gets us through. Now that might come against Morocco, it might come against Brazil. I think you just need to take the game as it comes. I would go back, personally, I would go to a back 5 with 4 in midfield and probably Che Adams as Malone striker. The reason for a back 5 is we don't need to chase the game. I think we just want to be hard to beat first and foremost, because you would take the worst 0-0 draw ever. You would accept it. You know, as you say, we were joking about getting 1 bus, you'd park 2 buses if it came to it, but I would put Kieran Tierney back in just to make the back 5 a bit more, how can I put it, solid but also alert. And you know, you speak about Saibari dropping off and players coming in and out. We can't just have a back 5. We need to have players who are able to go and follow, you know, attackers who are dropping deep and stuff like that. And I always think it's easier to do that if you've got a back 5, because then players can shuffle along and you can then go into a back 4 if somebody's moving up, whether that's Robertson's moving up one and Tierney slotting in, or Tierney moving in with a side Barry who's dropping off and Robertson comes back in to make it a 4. I think that's a key part of it. I must admit, I think Steve Clarke's got that decision to make. Does he put in an extra defender or an extra midfielder. I don't think we'll play two strikers. I don't think that's even up for debate, and I wouldn't. I think the decision just comes where he goes to the back five or the back four, but I think you can see Ryan Christie coming in. You will see probably John McGinn playing a different role, maybe off the right. I would be surprised if Ben Gannon-Doak is put in the team straight from the start. I would imagine he'll go with two wing-backs. Aaron Hickey, can he play 3 games in 10 days, 11 days? I'm not so sure. So Nathan Patterson could come in. So you could end up having Patterson, Robertson as wing-backs, Tierney, Hanley Hendry as your 3, Christie, Lewis Ferguson, McGinn, McTominay and a striker. That's what I would do. I'm not Steve Clarke. I'm just standing here giving my opinion. But I think that must be in Steve Clarke's thinking. The other alternative obviously is just to stick with the back 4 and maybe play one winger and bring a Christie in for one of the strikers. But we need to be more solid. It's a totally different game. But this is why I think the Haiti result, forget about the goals and all that just now, the Haiti result took the pressure off. Scotland don't need to win another game in this tournament. In this group stage to get through. They just don't. They just, draws will do. So just play the game. I'm not saying go for a draw, but there's no need to chase it. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going with that back 5 then, and we've seen how well Tierney and Robertson can dovetail, if Ashraf Hakimi does want to venture forward, there could be space in there for the left-hand side of Scotland.
Of course there could, and that's the thing. I mean, I always think it's harsh on Andy Robertson when he gets a bit of stick when he plays wing-back, and people say, oh, if he can play left-back, he can play right. It's a totally different position. It is. But what I think works best when he's playing there is the fact that Kieran Tierney can go either under him and inside or right outside him. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, remember the Spain game? Yep. Tierney's rampaging runs, and I think it's a real asset for Scotland. I always think you should try and get your best players in the team however way you can. Kieran Tierney had a really good season for Celtic. He's a big game player. He's got a brilliant cross on him, brilliant left foot on him. He saw his goal against Denmark. He's an influential member of that Scotland squad. I think if we can get him in the team, it can only make Scotland stronger. And I think this is probably an ideal game to do it. He works so well with Andy Robertson, and it also allows you to get Christie, McTominay, McGinn, Ferguson in the same sort of box midfield, if you want to call it that, and see what Morocco's strength in there. And the fact they'll flood that area with Saibari dropping back, I think that is crucial, that we've got bodies in there. And again, it just means all your best players are in the team. So that's what I would do. But I'll be interested to see what Steve Clarke does.
If he was to go with a back 4, there's the odd suggestion that if Hickey can't play all 3 games, would he swap in? Do you think he would? It's almost a guarantee he would go with a Nathan Patterson over, say, playing Kieran Tierney in that right back slot. Danny McGrain and Sandy Jans a long time ago.
I know. I do. And I know it worked against Denmark because Kieran Tierney came on at right back, and
but it was against 10 men for 20 minutes, wasn't it?
It's not even smart. I just don't like left-footed players playing right back. I just don't like it. I just don't think it works.
I remember one thing.
If it works, bizarrely, it works on the opposite side. Right-footed players have played left back for as long as football's been out. I don't know why. I don't have every left-footed player in the world coming after me, but I always think left-footed players are worse with their right foot than vice versa.
That's maybe. I mean, Lionel Messi is a good example of that.
الفيديو نتمنى لكم مقطع قد نال إعجاب ديالكم. ما تنساوش دعمونا بزر الإعجاب، كذلك الاشتراك في القناة وتفعيل الجرس باش توصلوا بجديد القناة أول بأول. وما تنساوش كذلك تدخلوا الآراء ديالكم، الاستفسار ديالكم، اقتراحات ديالكم أسفل الفيديو في خانة التعليقات حول ما قاله الإعلام اسكتلندي عن المواجهة المرتقبة هذا المساء بين المنتخب المغربي وكذلك المنتخب الاسكتلندي. كما تحدث الضيوف كذلك عن المقابلة القوية خاصة مع المنتخب المغربي الذي أصبح له مكانة على المستوى الدولي وكذلك على المستوى المنتخبات الكبرى. كذلك خلوا الآراء ديالكم حول ما قاله الحضور، وكذلك حول توقعاتكم لهذه المباراة والنتيجة التي ستؤول إليها، خاصة أن المنتخب المغربي مطالب بالفوز في هذه المباراة من أجل ضمان تأهله لدور الثمن. وما تنسوش إخواني مشاركة الفيديو مع جميع الأصدقاء، ونتلقاو على الفيديو القادم.